Hello. Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May we invite everybody to take your seats. We're about to start.
Yes. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen, and to our distinguished guests. Welcome to our forum,
Which we entitled Uniting Bangsamoro Workers, Promoting Decent Work for Social and Economic Development.
Yes, this
A
is
forum on labor migration,
domestic work and trafficking.
Yes.
Yes, we're very pleased and honored that you have come and accepted our invitation to this momentous event.
And before we start, we'd like to introduce ourselves as your masters of ceremonies. My name is Hussein Macarambon. I'm based out of the Makati office of the ILO Philippines, and my colleague.
Yes, a very new staff of ILO. I am actually from Davao, but I'll be working with BARM I've started yesterday and onwards. So I am Joy Bakal, and I'm very pleased to be with you today.
Yes, as my colleague said, we're very happy that you graced us with your presence today. It's going to be a whole day forum filled with a lot of discussions, a lot of information sharing, and this won't be possible without your help, your cooperation. So thank you very much.
Hussein, if you may, I'll just go over with our 4 objectives for this forum so that everyone can have a grasp of what we will be discussing today and what we would like to accomplish until this afternoon. So if you may, I'll just go over very quickly. Okay, so number 1, we would like to raise awareness on safe and fair migration, including national laws and international standards on decent work for domestic workers and migrant workers, and a rights-based and gender-responsive approach to labor migration. So the keyword there is to raise awareness. Second objective is that we would like to mobilize support. That's why we have invited different partners here. So we would like to get your support for the implementation of ILO Convention 189 and relevant international conventions and national laws that promote and protect the rights of domestic workers and migrant workers. Right?
That's correct, Joy.
Yes. So the third one is we would like, of course, to engage with local domestic workers and migrant family groups in BARM and link them up with national regional counterparts and relevant networks. So this is a very important objective. So I hope everyone will be able to share their experience and projects and programs for the domestic workers.
All in the framework of course, decent work for all, including domestic workers and migrant workers. So we want to promote and advance decent work as well as social justice, meaning we'd like to promote social dialogue between our constituents, meaning we work with the government, so that's the national government and of course the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and also with workers and employers organizations.
Thanks, Hussein. And lastly, we would like to provide technical support and necessary assistance to help strengthen the capacity of the BARM government and other tripartite plus partners in addressing labor migration, illegal recruitment, and trafficking. So generally we would like this forum to be a learning environment for everyone, where each can participate and express their experience and perhaps to provide recommendations later on. Would you like to add?
No, I'd like to start the program for today. We have a long day ahead of us. So before we start, we'd like to have our forum blessed, and Joy would introduce our very important person to do this.
Yes, it is but right and fitting to start our day with a prayer. And so we would like to call on Ustad Manham Burham, the chairperson of the Dawa Committee. So he will give us, he will lead us to the prayer and the words of wisdom.
Yes. Ustad Marhan Burhan will join us here in front, and we'd like everybody to stand for the prayer.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let us pray to Allah to give us mercy, blessing with His guidance and direction, inshallah. Wa qala rabbukum ud'uni astajib lakum, amin ya rabbal alamin. Ya Allah, Anta Allah, Anta Rahmanur Rahim, Anta Izzal Islam wal Muslimin. Allahumma anshur fil ardi dinaka wa dina nabiyyaka Muhammadin sallallahu عليه وسلم. اللهم اجعل هذا بلدا آمنا مطمئنا رخاء سخاء من كل سائر بلاد المسلمين. اللهم أصلح ذات بيننا وألف بين قلوبنا واهدنا سبل السلام وأخرجنا من الظلمات إلى النور وبارك لنا في أسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أينما كنا يا أرحم الراحمين. Allahumma zid barm hukumata Bangsamoro mahabatan wa tashrifan wa ta'liman ya rabbal alamin. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam wa ilayka ya'udu salam fahayyina bis salam wa adkhilna jannataka bis salam ya rabbal alamin. Ya Allah, increase the Bangsamoro government greatness, honor and dignity. Ya Allah, You are the peace. From You the peace, and survive us with peace, and make us enter Your paradise with peace. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana, wa fil akhirati hasana, wa qina adhaban nar. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Shukran. Mayroon pa tayong words of wisdom? Wala na. Okay na?
Thank you very much, Ustad Borhan. May I invite everybody to take your seat? Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our partners from the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. We have different ministries, we have different offices and bureaus. I've scanned through the list. It's a long list, no? But I'm just going to go through them very quickly. Of course, we have the Ministry of Labor and Employment. We have the Office of the Attorney General, OWA, of course. We have MSSD. We have the Bureau of Public Information. We have BARM, Statistics Authority. We have the Regional Commission on Bangsamoro Women, also a very important partner at the regional level. At the national level, we have, of course, the Department of Labor and Employment. We have its attached agencies, POEA, OWA. We have the Philippine Commission on Women. We have SSS, PhilHealth. NAPSI is here as well. Commission on Filipinos Overseas. DSWD Regional Office as well is here. Of course, that's the government. Now we have partners from the employers' organization as well. So we have a representative from ECOP, from the Davao Chamber of Commerce. I've seen some names with marketing organizations, which represents the employers. Of course, we have partners from workers' organizations as well. We have Centro. We have Yakan Weavers Association, Lakas Kabataan ng Barangay Lumutan, Bansayan Farmers Association, Fish Workers Solidarity. We have partners from civil society. We have the Center for Migrant Advocacy, Migrant Forum in Asia. We have partners from the international organizations as well. We have IOM with us today. We have FAO as well. And of course, I missed one partner from LGU in Basilan is here as well. So, before I call on our very important partner, the Minister of Labor and Employment, the MOLE Communications Group has prepared an audio-visual presentation for us. It's a 3-minute video. And I'd like to remind everybody that we are live on Facebook. And if you could like and follow the Molecom group. That would be appreciated. Of course, we have our ILO Facebook page as well. You could also like and follow that. The live video is sponsored by NV Livestream and MBN. Let me invite our colleagues from the Molecom group to show the video.
Sa paa. Wala akong mapasukan. Sikad lang. Dapat kayong mga sikad driver may benepisyo din.
Na-try ko na rin maghanap.
Siyempre, kung magtrabaho ka na hindi ka nakakain, siyempre wala ka rin lakas. Ginaabol natin yung pasahero, pagkakuha tayo ng pera para magka-almusal din tayo.
Pag hindi sapat yung cheater sa tricycle, manap na lang ako ng paraan na mabuti. Yan, mutang na lang ako. Pag makabulyom, yun, babayaran na nga.
Masiraan, maplatan, mapagod, mainit ang araw, mahirap sa paa. Wala akong mapasukan. Sikad lang. Dapat kayong mga sikad driver may benepisyo din.
Na-try ko na rin maghanap ng trabaho dito, kaso hindi ako pwede. Ang naisipan ko, kung apply na lang kaya ako sa abroad, doon na lang kaya ako magtrabaho, maghanap buhay. Tapos yun, na-try ko na lahat ng puntahan ng applyan, pero hindi talaga ako pwedeng makapasok na maghanap ng trabaho. Ay, ganyan, hindi ka pwede, tapos ganyan, ganun. Tapos inisip ko na lang na pumunta ng ibang bansa.
Para sa akin naman, ang gusto ko lang naman mangyari, yung minimum, yung magtaas yung sahod namin. Kasi, sabihin na kasi minsan kasi nga, mahal yung mga bilihin eh. Importante talaga, bigas, mga ulam. Siyempre, kung nabuboard ka pa.
Yata si iya kursinganin na makambeta subang samuro nagkapya sumadagla tau sa suka pasangan na du katabangan nira.
Bigyan niyo po yung mga ibang katulad ko na mga opportunity kasi actually marami talagang mga kabataan ngayon or kahit na ako mga fresh graduates na talagang skillful ho talaga. Mas maganda yung sarili mo talaga yung business mo kasi yung pang-araw-araw na inahawakan mong pera so natutugunan mo yung lahat nun. Not totally pero medyo na bibigay mo kaysa magtatrabaho ka so magsisweldo ka ng 60 or 50 or 120 ang pinakamalaki. So hindi mo kaya kasi panggatas ka ng everyday. Ako kasi gumagatas ng similag so mahal rin.
Gusto ko sa gobyerno, sa pagsamuro, magkaroon din kami ng magandang kinabukasan, o di kaya magandang buhay, para din sa mga anak namin, o sa mga kasamahan ko dito na nagabagkero. Gusto namin, ayaw namin rin ng ganitong hanap buhay. Di ba? Ang gusto namin, yung maganda rin. Siyempre wala tayo okay, hindi tayo nakapag-aaral, hindi tayo nakatapos. Na ganito lang talaga makuha natin trabaho. So, hindi tayo matanggap kahit tayo wala tayong pinag-aralan. Kaya walang taong gustong maghirap. Kaya siyempre, bata pa tayo, nagkabagkero na kami. Hanggang ngayon, ganito pa rin. Ang gusto namin yung magandang buhay na naman. Yung magandang trabaho, hindi na ganito, no? Okay na yun sa amin.
Kung anong dapat itulong niya sa manggagawa, di pagbigyan niyo kami, tulungan din. Kasi sa ngayon, hindi ko pa rin masyado memorize kung anong dapat gawin ng BAL, yung totoo lang. Pero kung may mas maganda pa, idagdag sa mga benepisyo namin dito sa loob, sa factory, mas maganda kung dagdagan pa. Pero kung anong normal nang ipalabas ng BAL na makabuti, sa ngayon ako doon.
Sana magawa niya pa ng magandang paraan na may natutulong niyo sa amin na sa mga galing marin sa maliliit na magagawa, umangat pa, mas tumaas pa yung mga sweldo.
Anchored on these sentiments and other emotional baggages coming from the Bangsamoro people, the Ministry of Labor and Employment is fired up in promoting full, decent, competitive, and productive employment through creation of inclusive and equal employment opportunities, development of human resources, protection of workers and promotion of their welfare, and maintenance of industrial peace.
Sana sa pagpasok ng farm government, maraming trabaho na mapapasukan.
That was a wonderful video highlighting, of course, the importance of human capital and decent work in, maybe you can turn off the mic, in economic development of the Bangsamoro region. I would like to thank the Ministry of Labor and Employment for that wonderful video. Of course, the Mole Communications Group. Let's give them a round of applause. As we've had some technical difficulties, we are making sure that the video will also be shown later on today throughout the forum so that you'll have another chance to see the video. Before I introduce the Labor Minister for the welcome remarks, I'd like to give a more personal note. The way I see him work. Now, he visited us in the ILO Manila office a week or so ago. And I've seen how hands-on he is and how dedicated he is as a labor minister of Mole. No? He's making sure that it's all well planned, including this forum. So we work very closely with him and his team. He makes sure that you've seen in the video that he ensures inclusiveness, no, and consultation. So he has been going around meeting with his counterparts at the national government, meeting with the DOLE Secretary, Secretary Bello, the attached agencies, POEA Administrator Olalia and OWA Administrator Hans Kakdak has also met them. So that really shows you his dedication for his work. And without further ado, I'd like to call on the Labor Minister, Honorable Dato Romeo K. Sema, to give us his welcome remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. The Honorable Chief Minister Ahud Balawag Ibrahim, represented by Attorney Badar Salindab, Director Khalid Hassan of the International Labour Organization's Country Office for the Philippines and Party, Director De Guzman and Party of the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, the OWA Administrator and Party, Honorable and honorable members of the ministers who are here today. The labor organization leaders, overseas Filipino workers, migrant workers, also in attendance, and honored guests, friends, and ladies and gentlemen. And again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. At the outset, in behalf of the leadership, in behalf of the Molly family, I wish to welcome and thank you all for coming despite of the very short notice. I understand that aside from our honored guests who came all the way from Manila, there are some participants who came all the way from the islands, provinces of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. Today's forum focus on labor migration, domestic worker, and trafficking. Is jointly organized by the Ministry of Labor and Employment of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao and the International Labor Organization with the team uniting Bangsamoro workers, promoting decent work for social and economic development. Statistics will show that in 2017, a survey on overseas Filipino workers, it was reported that populations of OFWs around the world has grown to 2.34 million, and around 44,441 came from the then autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. And that figure, I believe, has significantly increased today. These situations of labor migration resorted to related issues of illegal recruitment, trafficking, and the abuses ranging from violence, labor exploitations of overseas Filipino workers, especially women and domestic workers. With that report, I am inclined to believe that it is possible that most of the victims come from the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM. It is for this reason that MOLI, or Ministry of Labor and Employment, and the International Labor Organization thought of conducting this activity. I therefore call on all the Bangsamoro workers to get united. Let us brace together and plan for our future and the future of our generations. Let us all aspire to get rid of this very unfortunate and apathetic situation, especially of our women who leave their families here and take care of others' families abroad, if only to earn a living. The Ministry of Labor and Employment in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao is taking the difficult road to see and plan out what we can do to address the malady. MOLI will coordinate closely with other ministries concerned of the BARM to ensure that enough jobs will be generated in the next few years. We cannot afford to be lifetime domestic help to other countries. The government and the private sectors has to seriously consider their social responsibilities in promoting decent work for both domestic workers and for Filipino domestic workers abroad. In MOLI, a significant number of balikbayan manggagawa are delodging our office every day, applying for overseas employment certificates or OECs and OFW verification sheet. And what is even most appalling are the parents and the relatives of OFWs complaining about the situation of their daughters working in the Middle East who are victims of these abuses and maltreatment. Some of them are forced to leave without receiving payment of their rendered services from their employers. Upon assumption to office barely 2 months ago, I realized in my introspection that Moli office has to be reorganized and strengthened. The scope of each function is wide enough and calls for the expansions of each organizational structure. In close cooperation with both national government and some concerned international government organization, we will face this problem squarely and inshallah we will be victorious in the end. With the phasing out of the employees of then Doli, of the Punk ERMM, Moli of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region and Muslim Mindanao has to recruit and train new personnel and staff to perform the mandate functions of the office. We just hope and to encourage that those with technical expertise to reconsider their options and will continue to work with us. But as an infant organization, we have to capacitate our personnel and staff. They will be trained to acquire the necessary knowledge and skills to face whatever challenges in the executions of their mandate and functions. We therefore need the assistance of the national government and the INGO and of course the leadership of the Bangsamoro government on this. We hope to strengthen our services in assisting Balik Manggagawa by installing a one-stop shop in the office. This, we hope to partner with OWA and Philippine Health and POA, meantime that the Moli structure is not yet fully operationalized. We will also streamline some of the many requirements of issuance of permits, certifications of registrations, and overseas employment certifications and OFW verification sheet. Indeed, the concerns on the promotions of decent work for social and economic development of the Bangsamoro and the protections of labor migration, domestic work, and trafficking cannot be done by the POA and the Ministry of Labor and Employment alone. It has to be supported by the local government, the civil society organization, the OFW migrant organizations, and other stakeholders. By next week, we'll be fielding about 30 enumerators to conduct survey research to come with the very reliable data on labor force. This will pilot in Maguindanao and Cotabato City. And next year, we will expand it to cover Lanao del Sur, Marawi, in the islands of provinces Basilan, Tawi-Tawi, and Sulu. In due time, we will have complete and reliable data that will guide us charting the destiny of our workforce in the Bangsamoro, inshallah. Thank you, and once again, welcome to BARM, or the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region and Muslim Mindanao.
Salamat po, Labor Minister Sema. Thank you for the very inspiring welcome. Before I call out the delivery of the keynote message, let me introduce the author of the keynote speech. Honorable Alhaj Ahud Balawag Ibrahim is the Interim Chief Minister of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. He was sworn in by President Rodrigo Duterte in February this year as the Interim Chief Minister, and he has been leading an 80-member Bangsamoro transition, which will govern its 5-province Bangsamoro region. To deliver this speech, let me call on Attorney Badar Salendab, for the keynote message.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. And a pleasant morning to all of you here. I am Attorney Bader Ibus Salendab of the Office of the Attorney General. And as stated earlier, I was sent here to represent the Chief Minister, a tough job to fulfill. But I hope I can do justice to the representation, inshallah. The Chief Minister would like to thank the Ministry of Labor and Employment under Minister Dato Romeo K. Sema, sir. Thank you for inviting the Office of the Chief Minister, particularly the Chief Minister himself, in today's forum. Thank you also to the International Labor Organization under the leadership of Director Hassan, sir. It's a privilege meeting both of you. It's a privilege meeting the unsung heroes and the groups that support them, the OFWs, our modern heroes of our society. The importance of labor and employment, the field of labor and employment, and including the OFWs, is highlighted by the fact that in the BOL, or the Bangsamoro Organic Law, Republic Act 11054, there are several provisions there devoted specifically to labor and employment, human trafficking including our OFWs. Under Article 9 of the Basic Rights in the Bangsamoro Organic Law, there is a provision there which provides for the protection of the rights of our workers, including and especially our OFWs. It is stated there that the Bangsamoro government shall protect the rights of our workers. I'm sorry for that. The rights of our workers to humane conditions of work, living wage, and to their security of tenure. In addition, there is a provision which provides that all forms of human trafficking shall be strictly prohibited in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. So that is how important the field of labor and employment, including our OFWs, to the BOL. In addition to that, there is a provision in the BOL which constitutes the Ministry of Labor and Employment as the primary ministry of the interim cabinet, so that there will be a dedicated ministry, an office, a department that will advance and promote the rights of the workers in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao through the creation of such ministry. Now, the flagship platform of our Chief Minister is moral governance. Moral governance, in a nutshell, simply means doing what is right, what is moral, and avoiding what is wrong, what is prohibited, and what is illegal. And part of doing what is right, and an indispensable aspect of moral governance, is the protection of the rights of our workers, including our OFWs. Part also, an indispensable aspect of moral governance, is the prohibition of all forms of human trafficking. So these are essential to the main flagship platform of our Chief Minister, which is moral governance. And to further support that and to articulate that into official policy of our Chief Minister, the creation of job opportunities was included in the 12-point development agenda of our Chief Minister. This is one of the actions and programs that would address the situation of our OFWs, particularly our OFWs in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. With the generation and creation of job opportunities, our OFWs are provided with an option that they need not go outside the country to work for a living, to earn a decent living for their family, instead of devoting their skills, their time, their effort, their energy to other places. Why not devote all of those here in the Bangsamoro so that they can contribute to the development and success of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao? So that aspect with respect to the promotion of job opportunity is included in the 12-point development agenda of our Chief Minister. On that note, I would like to congratulate the MOLE, and the Chief Minister would like to extend its congratulations to the Ministry of Labor and Employment, the International Labor Organization, and the other non-government organizations that are present today and are material in being able to successfully hosting this event. Salamat po sa inyo and good day.
Moral governance, that was the keyword. Thank you very much, Attorney Bader Salendab. Rest assured that ILO will be working closely with your office and with your flagship programs. Okay, moving on with our program, it is my honor to introduce to you the Director of the ILO Country Office for the Philippines. I did a little research on his background since I don't know him personally yet. So I learned that he is a child labor specialist. He has served extensively in Malawi and in Pakistan, where he is a native of. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Khalid Hassan, the ILO Director in the Philippines.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum. What we will be doing today is that we will like to introduce what International Labour Organization is, what we do, and how will we be supporting the ministry in implementing various programs. So first of all, I would like to say thank you to my brother, Minister Sema, who kindly invited us for this workshop. And we met in Manila also. We had a number of discussions. We have a number of plans that will be coming and coming up in a certain time. And again, in my last visit, I met the Chief Minister also, and he's a very dynamic and interesting person. And we congratulate the Bangsamoro government, and we are ready to provide the support whenever it is needed, not only from the International Labour Organization, but from the United Nations. United Nations here in the Philippines are 17 agencies, and we all work together under the one system. We have a leader here who is called the resident coordinator, and then we have a country team. We are all part of the country team. So we will be able to provide you the support you need in developing your programs with the knowledge or experience that we have. Today, first I would like to show you a small video of the work we are doing. It will give you an idea that the work we do. And after that, I will give you a presentation that why do we need labor standards? Why do we need International Labour Organization, decent work, and other programs? So that will be the presentation after that. So first we would like to show you a video. ILO was established in 1919. So 2019, we have completed our 100 years. This video was produced part of that, that program. So would you like to show the video, please? Sound.
Wild dreams hurt. For the people who don't have all the riches, it's the right to live and not simply exist. But we want the bread and we need decent work too. I'll stand here beside you to guide you across all the rubble. I'll be a partner, universal peace, seeking social justice. 'Cause together we're strong and it won't be long. No, new age is here, and we got the vision. All the justice we can bring, make a better way. 100 years on this mission for the human condition. Read all about it. A place without a living. This world is the place. You can't survive without a living. No, no. Together we can make it, and together we persist. Together we can make it. Together we persist. Hey. We'll go as far as we can. We've been working for this chance, better future, better ways, and we deserve better days. Gonna make it happen. So many voices say the same. Let's be the change tomorrow brings. New age is here, and we got a vision. All the justice we can bring, make a better way. 100 years on this mission for the human condition. Read all about it. It's a wild, wild dream turned into reality. From the ashes of the old to the people who need the right to live and not simply exist. But we want the bread, but we need decent work too. I'll stand there beside you to guide you. I'll be your partner in peace. Together we're strong and it won't be long. The iron lung, 100 years strong. Your life is here. We got the vision. All the justice we can bring, We've been on this mission.
You may observe from the video that the areas of the work that we are doing, there's a depiction of various areas that we are doing. We will be showing another video on that one also. It will be more clear to you on that one. But now I would like to have a presentation done. I will go to that side so that I can see. Now, what we in ILO we do is the basic thing is decent work. A better world starts here. So let's see what is decent work. It is just work, or what do we mean by this? Work is a very important thing in the lives of the human being. It is not only just that we get our basic needs like food or other things from work. Work gives us recognition. Work gives us inspiration. Work gives us purpose. So if the work is not decent, you will not be able to achieve your purpose. You will not be able to achieve the possibilities that you are looking for. So that's the reason ILO stands for decent work. Next slide, please. Next slide. As I said, ILO was founded in 1919 following the World War I. So we are produced as a result of the war, and it was found in the analysis of the war that if there is no social justice, you will never have peace and stability. Poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity every year. This statement is 100 years old and it is still very relevant. Poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. So if you do not fight poverty, you will not have peace. If you don't have social justice, you will not have peace. ILO aims to achieving social justice through tripartite structure, government, employers and workers. And our purpose is building public institutions and international labor standards. So what we are doing is institution building. We will be supporting the institution building in Bangsamoro. We will be helping in developing public policies which speaks to the international standards, and then we will be helping you with the development of various programs. Now my colleagues referred to some terms like they said conventions. They will be using a word at certain time in the presentation, protocols. They will be using some terminologies like declarations, right? Now international standards, international labor standards comes in the form of conventions. Conventions is something which is ratified by the country. It becomes mandatory. The country has to implement it. Second is the recommendations. Recommendations are basically explanation of the conventions and providing guidance. That is not mandatory. Then we have protocols. Protocols is basically explanation of a certain convention. Certain convention, getting it updated, getting it more information on it. And then we have declarations. Declarations are policy guidance which are issued from time to time. Like for example, how many hours we have to work in a day? 8 hours. Where does this 8 hours come from? Why was it 8 hours? Why not 12 hours? Why not 6 hours? It comes from the ILO Convention number 1. The ILO Convention number 1 in 1919 said that a day will be 8 hours, a week will be 40 hours. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for recreation, 8 hours for rest. This was how it was seen. Next. Now, this is where we see the government, the chief minister, and the labor ministry is here, and it has to be supported by the workers' organization and the employers' organization. For what? To build institutions, to have public policies, and to have international labor standards or national labor standards implemented. This is how we visualize it. What will come here is the DWC programs, the decent work programs, the programs of the ministries that will be developing, the plans that they will be developing. It will come at this layer. That will we fill as we go ahead. Next. One point I would like to make, ILO is unique from other UN agencies. Why? Because other agencies only work with the government. We work with the workers and employers also, and they have the same voting rights as the government. So when the tripartite mission goes from Philippines to International Labour Conference in Geneva, which was recently held, we have the government representatives, we have the workers representative, we have the employer representatives, and I will be explaining that point in a bit more. Next, please. Now, the mandate of ILO is the ILO Constitution, which came in 1919. Then we have the Declaration of Philadelphia. I said the labor standards comes in conventions, recommendations, protocols, and declarations. So there's a declaration, 1944, which provides guidance on how to move ahead. Then we have the ILO Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work. Then it's International Labor Standards. Then we have the ILO Declaration on Social Justice and Fair. And then we have the Centenary Declaration of Future of Work. I will be touching on this declaration in the end of this presentation. So remember, future of work. What is future of work? Where are we going now? Right? Will the work remain the same? Will the work change with the time? Why is it's changing? Because of climate change, because of automation and technological change, because of demographic changes that are taking place. Some of the populations of the countries are getting older, some of the population of the countries are getting younger. Because of that, it will create a lot of pressure on the work. How do we prepare for that kind of situation? Next, please. Now, ILO strategic objectives are, number one, to promote fundamental principles and rights at work. Second is to create greater opportunities for employment. Third is social protection. The speech of the Chief Minister, representative, the speech of the Minister for Labor was talking about social protection. How to provide protection for the people who are going outside the country, working there. How should we create jobs for them here when they return, or if they have any problem? That is the social protection. And the third, very important, is social dialogue. I will be putting more emphasis on social dialogue in a few more slides to come. Next. Now, when we say, right, fundamental principles and rights at work, what are they? Fundamental principles and right of work. Number one is freedom of association. Freedom of association and the protection of the right to organize Convention 1948. The convention has been ratified by the Philippines. Right to organize and collective bargaining. This has also been ratified by the Philippines. Abolition of forced labor Convention 1930, ratified. When we say ratified, the government has accepted it and it is part of the laws of the country. Abolition of forced labor convention, then Equality, Discrimination, Employment and Occupation Convention, Equal Remuneration Convention, minimum wage convention, and worst form of conventions. My colleagues will be referring to some of the other conventions when their turn comes in. But what I want to emphasize here, the freedom of association. The workers and the employers have the right to form associations, to have social dialogue, to solve the issues that they have. And who is the guarantor for that? The government. The Bangsamoro government will provide the guarantee for that right, that they have the right to social dialogue, they have the right to collective bargaining, and they have the right to freedom of association. The guarantor will be the government for that. Next. Now, when the conventions were ratified, how many? 33 conventions, Philippines? Or something like that. 34 or 36 conventions have been ratified in it. When the conventions is ratified, so what? Right? Then there is a supervisory mechanism for it. It's not that the convention has ratified and it will go like this. So there will be reports produced by the country. Who produces the reports? The reports are produced by the Ministry of Labor with inputs from the workers and employers organization, and then they are sent to International Labour Conference. Now, who is International Labour Conference? International Labour Conference are the governments of 187 countries, including Philippines. So 187 countries are the members of the International Labour Conference, and the reports goes to them. Please move. This is one of the mechanism. The government produces the reports with the inputs from the workers and employers organization. The committee of experts on the application of the convention and recommendation reviews them. And if they have any questions, it comes to the direct request sent to the government. And government need to explain the situation or what actions they will be taking and how will they be improving on these things. You must be seeing in the newspaper, right, that there was some union members killed or something like that. So there was a hearing and a direct request has been sent to Philippines government to respond, to improve the monitoring system, to improve the justice system so that they can. If these are not met, then it is published in this report and sanctions can be imposed on the country. Now, this route is very, very rarely used. I mean, Qatar was asked to explain on the forced labor and the situation of the labor condition in Qatar, and direct requests were sent to them, and then they responded to it. So the improvement in Qatar government standards and things like that is taking place. Yes, okay. I will move a bit fast now. Right, next. Now, poverty is not a new phenomenon, right? And the emergence of right-based approach to development. Please note this rights-based approach to development. I will be emphasizing on this one. And the growing emphasis on poverty reduction, the intensifying of competition, right, next. Intensifying competition due to globalization of the trade and investment. Now competition in Bangsamoro will start. Soon you will have trade agreements. Soon you will have agreements with multinational corporations. And so it has to meet international labor standards. If it is not meeting the international standards, like the GSP Plus programs and other programs will not be given to the country. Perceived application of unskilled or low-skilled workers is another issue. Come next, please. Now this is right-based approach. It means that we have rights, everybody have rights, right? And those rights are universal. You cannot say that this right can be given to this person, but that person cannot receive that right. That is not allowed. That says indivisibility. All rights have to be given to everybody. interdependence, interrelatedness, right? And then accountability and the rule of the law is the right of everybody, that the government should be accountable for it and the rule of law has to be applied. Next, please. Now, Philippines or Bangsamoro has produced its national and local development plans. It is a test that are they poverty focused? Are they locally driven and owned? Are they comprehensive? Are they result oriented? Are they partnership based? Are they long-term perspective? All these should be tested from that line, and then we see that how the plans look like and how. Next, please. So the job is participation, empowering the people to take their own decisions. So you have the right to be empowered so that you can take your own decision and claim your rights. Inclusion, promoting equality and non-discrimination based on legislation. And third, fulfilling obligations. Next one. Empowering means the constituents, the workers, employers, and the government to participate in the drafting, implementation, review of the poverty reduction strategies. They should be part of it, and I'm sure you were part or consulted during the process of developing the plans that presently we have. Incorporating employment and other aspects of decent work into the national and local development plans. This we have to see how can we provide you support so that employment issues and other issues are part of that programs. Next, please. This is the concept of decent work, which means everybody should have opportunities of work. How do you provide opportunities of work? By training, by providing them access to education, by then you are providing opportunities of work. Then you are work in condition of freedom. They have the right to form association. They have the right to have social dialogue so they can work. And the work should be productive. The work should be providing them money they are looking for. Next, please. Now, what happens actually, right, that many national and local government plans need to include a thorough analysis of employment and other aspects of decent work. This is what we will be helping you with, so that we have the analysis, we call them diagnostics, so that the right of decent work can be achieved. Next, please. I have a short time to work, so that I'm moving fast, right? What happens that if trade unions, workers' organizations, and labor ministries need to be systematically involved. The labor ministry came a bit late in Bangsamoro. The plans were already in advance, so we have to see that how they were involved in the preparation of that. Without this, the participation and national ownership principle of development plan is undermined. If it doesn't happen, so the participation principle has been violated. Next. Economic justice. More attention should be placed on equality and attention to growth in the national and the local development plans. Land rights, fair and efficient fiscal policy, and core labor standards have to be incorporated in all the plans. If these are not that, the conflict will continue. This is called the right to economic justice. Right. I will just skip this one. Skip this one. Wait. Go back. Go back. You can't? Okay. Now, national and local development plans, a challenge for rights. Many people will tell you that macroeconomic framework comes first, economic parameters of rights. Economy is more important than rights. rights can come later, but the economy is more important. The second is, does the people want to listen that rights and political arena is prepared, that they listen to the rights that are enshrined in labor standards and many other UN standards. Poverty of participation drops when people are not involved in the developing of these plans. And the time frame, it requires more time. Next, please. Promoting the rights in the national and local development plans, social dialogue. This is what I was emphasizing, that there should be social dialogue forums in which people discusses the plan first, agree on the plan, and then it moves ahead. Advocacy through alliances. Alliances has to be made so that the government get the pressure so that they change certain laws for a certain, like for example, security of tenure is one of the issue that is being discussed now in the country. Next, please. The economic case against, right? If you put rights, if you put labor standards, they will say it will increase the labor cost. If the labor cost is increased and the productivity is not increased, the country will not be competitive. Now, is competitiveness comes or loses just by increasing the minimum wage, or competition can be done by other method, by increasing the skills training, by increasing the skills of the workers, by increasing equipment, by increasing machinery. So this is the case against. Discriminate against the poor who remains outside the formal sector. The people who are not in formal sector do not receive the rights. Their rights are always violated. And the next one is create rigidities in the labor market and monopolies in the products that we produce. Next, please. Now, this is the case in favor. If you have labor standards, if you have the labor standards, it promotes social and economic stability. You will have less industrial conflicts, you will have less problems, and foreign investors will invest in Bangsamoro areas. They will be more feeling safe to provide the investments in the country. CLS can make the market work better. Labor standards can make the market work better because they are transparent, information flows, institutional checks and balances are there. And it reduces the waste of skills. If you have child labor, if children are working, if children are in forced labor, you lose the skills because they can develop as a very skillful person if you are not doing that. Next. CLMS promotes human capital formation. You need skills. If you don't have skills, you will not be able to compete internationally. Elimination of discrimination may create opportunities for marginalized groups. The marginalized groups will be kept outside the education programs, the skills programs. The marginalized programs like the indigenous people may not have access to the education program, or other communities, the Bajau group who does not have a nationality which is in this part of the world, they are there, they will be discriminated against. Gains in terms of wage rates can create more wealth in the rural economy. And when the rural economy improves, it will definitely have a positive impact. Next. So it shows that the people who are against labor standards are these points, the people who are in support of labor standards. So you will definitely gain if you are using the labor standards. Next, please. Next, next, next. This is the future of work, which I said technology is changing. Robotics are coming. Climate change is happening. Demographic changes are happening in the world. If we are not prepared for it, so we have to invest in people's capabilities. We have to develop the institutions of labor, and we have to provide incentive to the businesses so they can invest in it, in the decent work. Next. This goes into more detail, and we will be doing it in more discussion, but this is the first thing that Bangsamoro government should work on is lifelong learning. They should develop the skills programs, and the skills programs are developed not only for children, but for adults also, and the people who have retired or getting old. That's very important. And the second is universal labor guarantees has to be provided. Everybody have the right to better wages, everybody have the right to work, everybody has to be done, and this right has to be protected by this one. And then we have to provide incentives. So this is, I think, the last slide for it. So I have to give more time to my other colleagues to talk on the other one. This is just an introduction, what we do in ILO. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Hassan, for that very extensive and informative presentation of ILO's work. And okay, if you have the program, right? So we will proceed with what is written there. So after the presentation, we will proceed with Engineer Muhajirin Ali, the Acting Executive Director of the Regional Planning and Development Office of the BARM. So he will be speaking about the BARM structures and institutions in support of the national structures and programs. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Engineer Muhajirin T. Ali.
Auzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My courtesies to the organizer of this event, especially to the Minister of Mole, Minister Sema, and our guest, sir, and the rest of the participants who are present here this morning. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Okay. So this morning I was tasked to present to you the BARM structure and institutions in support to national structures and programs. So this presentation basically kinrap ko siya sa Bangsamoro Organic Law, and the structures presented here this morning are from the recently approved transition plan. No? So we're waiting for an order from the Chief Minister to implement the plan in the coming weeks or days. Next slide. The outline of my presentation are the following. I have at least three major parts. First is the BARM legal basis and profiles. Second, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority power and function. And then third, the structure of the BARM institution and institutions in support of national structures and program. Okay, next slide. Okay. These are the legal basis for the BARM. Initially, this is based on the Philippine Constitution. We have this Article 10, Section 15 to 19, that says that there is hereby an autonomous region for the Muslims in Mindanao and for the Cordillera. So, by virtue of this provision from the Constitution, ito yung naging basis naman ng Congress to again enact a law establishing the autonomy for the Muslims in Mindanao. No? I think one, two. This is the third. No, the first one was during the time of President Aquino, Republic Act 6734, and it was amended during the time of Gloria, President Arroyo, Republic Act 9054, and then later, ito na yung pinakabago. No? And as compared to the previous law, this one, pwede nating sabihin na from all the level of engagement in crafting the Bangsamoro Organic Law, in every step, it was actively participated by the parties involved. No? On the side of the Bangsamoro, represented by the MILF, and then the Philippine government. No? Although alam naman natin, legally speaking, na when we say crafting of a law under the Philippine context, it's unilateral to the national government. But again, because this one is a product of a peace agreement between the government and the MILF, so we have to make sure na yung legislation o yung law na ma-approve should be agreed by the parties. So alhamdulillah, we were able to establish the Bangsamoro Organic Law, and then eventually establishing the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. So, based on the Philippine Statistics Authority, from 3-point-something million population of the ARM, and because of the inclusion of Cotabato City and the 63 barangays, now they have estimated na ang population ni BARM reached to 4 million, no? 4,80,825 in terms of population. And because also of the inclusion of those areas, medyo lumaki na rin siya. This time, meron na siyang geographical area of around 12,711.79 square kilometer. And the areas covered by the BARM now are the 5 provinces, Tawi-Tawi, Sulu, Basilan, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, 3 cities, no? Madagdagan na po ng isa, Lamitan, Marawi, and Cotabato City. And then we have at least 116 municipalities with 2,590 barangays. That includes the 63 barangays of North Cotabato with 8 congressional districts. Next slide. So in terms of the area, ito na po yung indicative map na meron po si BARM sa ngayon. As you can see, tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, we have at least 5 provinces, 3 cities, 116 municipalities with 2,590 barangays. And then this time, yung blue color dyan na makikita nyo, yan na yung tinatawag nating Bangsamoro waters. No? This time, si BARM meron na po siyang territorial waters na under his jurisdiction. Aside from a 15-kilometer municipal water, meron na siyang additional 7-point-something kilometers na totaling to 22-point-something kilometers as what we call the Bangsamoro waters. Yung lalampas doon, no? Yung mga dagat na exceeding that 22 kilometers, meron tayong tinatawag na zones of joint cooperation, no? Na kung saan hindi siya part ng territory, pero in terms of natural resources or any minerals, o di kaya yung resources ng dagat, it will be jointly managed by the Bangsamoro government and the Philippine government. Okay? So yan po yung kasama sa mga bagong features na meron tayo sa BARM na wala sa arm noon. Next slide. So, the next slide no, explains about the brief powers and functions of the Bangsamoro government based on the Bangsamoro Organic Law. No? Sa ngayon, dahil nagta-transition tayo, kaya yung pinaka-head natin ay tinatawag nating interim chief minister. No? This time, mapapansin nyo, iba yung structure ng BARM as compared sa national setup. No? Ang national government sa ngayon, we have what we call unitary type. Si BARM sa ngayon, meron tayong parliamentary type. No? In a very simple way of understanding the parliamentary setup, like the United Kingdom, Japan, the Malaysia, ang difference nito, ang government of the day, kung may regular election, ay kung sino yung political party na may maraming seat na naipanalo. So, ibig sabihin, ang sentro ng governance dito sa BARM, tulad ng mga nabanggit kong lugar, no, is on the political party, hindi doon sa tao na kumandidato. Okay? So, yun ang isang basic difference as compared dun sa unitary. Kasi pag nag-unitary ka, yung tao ang iboboto mo. Yun siya yung may of power tulad sa ngayon, no? Dito sa ka-parliamentary, hindi. Sa atin ngayon, mix yung may bobotohing tao and then may political party. So, ang pinupush natin sa ganitong setup ay magkaroon ng very strong and principled political party system. Okay? So, yan po ang meron kay Bangsamoro Autonomous Region and Muslim Mindanao. Sa ngayon, because transition nga ito na may term na 3 years, lahat ng members ng parliament na kung tawagin na rin natin Bangsamoro Transition Authority ay appointed by the President. No? Lahat sila ay appointed. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, mukhang hindi pa ata na kumpleto rin yung 80. Meron pa rin atang 3 na kulang. No? Pero yung 3 na yon, meron ding sa MI dahil may isa sa MI, no? Recently, nag-pass away si Attorney Dataya, Allah yarhamu. So, nabawasan ng isa. So, I don't know. Naging 4 na. Okay. So, yung 3 pala is from the government side na slot, no? Nominee, hindi pa rin na-fill up. And then, may isa sa MI left side. So, totaling to 80. Yan yung mga members ng parliament na kung saan tinatawag na rin silang BTA sa ngayon, no? BTA members, so Bangsamoro Transition Authority members. So, dito kay BTA, siya yung gobyerno sa ngayon. Tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, dito sa setup na ito, may merging ng executive at saka legislative. Meaning, si legislative, siya rin yung mamamahala sa executive. Like for instance, based on the provision of the law, most of the cabinet member ay manggagaling sa parliament member. Okay? And then, ang pagkaiba lang nitong transition as compared kung may regular election, dito sa transition, si interim chief minister is also appointed by the president. So, si ICM natin ngayon, 2 ang appointment niya. Isa as member of the parliament and isa as the interim chief minister. And this is guaranteed for 3 years, no? During the transition. But in election at time, halimbawa, this coming 2022 na magkaka-election, after the transition period, kung sino man yung party na may maraming seats, sila yung magno-nominate ng chief minister as head of the government, no? So yun yung difference as compared dito sa transition. Okay? And then, tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, kung mapapansin nyo sa ngayon, karamihan sa mga cabinet members ng BARM are from the members of the BTA. Okay? So, siya rin yung mamamahala, yung mga yon ang mamamahala doon sa executive side of the BARM government. And then, isa sa mandate na rin ni BTA, tulad nung nabanggit ko, is kung sino man yung magiging cabinet, sila naman yung naatasang mag-organize ng bureaucracy of the Bangsamoro, no? Sila yung mamamahala and then i-organize nila later. So tulad nung nabanggit ko na rin kanina na approved transition plan, nandoon na po yung organizational structure ni BARM, no? Kaya nga po hinihintay namin na hopefully mailabas yung order, dahil the moment na may order to implement the transition plan, that would be the signal na yung current structure ni ARM ngayon, basically, magte-trigger na yung gradual phase out niya at papalit na si BARM structure based on the transition plan approved. No? So, ito yung mga pinagkakabahan namin within the coming months until December 31 of 2019. No? And then, this includes setting up of offices and other institutions necessary for the continued functioning of the government and delivery of social services in the BARM, no? As well as those necessary for the smooth operations of the first elected Bangsamoro government in 2022. No? Sa ngayon, basically, ang ginagamit for the meantime para walang vacuum, no? At tuloy yung public service, yung structure ng ARM for the meantime. But eventually, pag sabi ko nga kanina, pag may order na to implement the transition plan, that would signal na i-abolish na si ARM structure at papasok na si BARM structure. Okay. And then, itong BTA will be the one in charge of governing the Bangsamoro region in the next 3 years, no, until 2022. Okay, next slide. So the next, and then the third, no, after that is the BARM structure and institutions, no. Tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, ito na yung ano niya, no, although maliit siya. Anyway, baka kita rin naman, no. Ito na yung kumbaga kung i-visualize mo, no, yung structure ni BARM sa ngayon, no, from the executive and then the legislative side, parliament, and then actually may siwali hindi dapat dyan, no, sa gilid dyan, and then broken line. So hindi ko lang nahabol sa mga staff ko, no. Hindi siya yung ano, siya yung symbolic leader actually. But anyway, nandiyan yung executive side, and then nandiyan si Chief Minister, siya rin ay member ng Parliament. Before, no, meron tayong 80 plus 23. But the 23 RLA members were up to June lang, no? June 30 of 2019. So ngayon balik tayo sa 80. Ngayon, tulad nung nabanggit kanina, hindi pa nakumpleto, meron pang 4. So nasa 76 members ang BTA natin sa ngayon, no? And then doon sa further left, nandiyan yung judiciary. This time, isa sa mga features na rin ng ano natin, BOL natin is yung judiciary side na meron siyang sharia. Okay, and then nandiyan yung details niya, nasa BOL na rin po. And then may council of leaders, no, na gagawin. So ito yung parang basic structure kung titignan mo. Anyway, may bibigay na rin ito sa atin officially the moment we implement the transition plan in the coming weeks, no? Then from that Chief Minister, this time may 2 deputy, no? Si ARM before may isang Vice Governor. This time may 2 deputy, no? Kung ang Chief Minister mo ay galing sa Maguindanao, automatically yung 2 deputy mo ay manggagaling sa island and then manggagaling sa Lanao area. So ganun ang arrangement. Kung si Chief Minister naman is galing sa island, so definitely yung 2 deputy ay galing sa Maguindanao and then sa Lanao, no? So may dalawang deputy minister po tayo sa BARM sa ngayon. And then meron tayong at least 15 ministries na magagamit based on the organic law na nandyan sa BOL sa ngayon, no? So dito sa mga ministries natin na ito, makikita nyo rin na talagang totally different from the national setup. Dahil meron ditong merging of departments into one ministry, and then meron din namang na-maintain, halimbawa, no? Tulad nung Ministry of Health, dati-rati Department of Health. But to the Department of Education ngayon, hindi na siya Ministry of Education lang. No, nagiging Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education. So, dyan sa ministry na yan, meron dyang merging of department kung kumpara mo sa national setup, no? Yung ministry na yan, isa sa pinakamalaking, o siya yung pinakamalaking ministry actually sa BARM. Imagine, malaki na yung DepEd noon in terms of population of employees, nadagdagan pa ng 3, no? Ang nadagdag dyan, CHED, no? Higher Education, yung TESDA, yung Technical Education, and then third, yung Madaris, no? Yung Bureau of Madaris. So, yung agency na yan o yung ministry niyan, very, very huge. Kasama rin yung ministry ng MAFAR, no? Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Aquatic Resources. Tama ba ako? MAFAR. Okay. Tama, no? So, yun. Tatlong ano rin yan, actually. Ano pala? Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Agrarian Reform. So, tatlong department din, no? Agriculture ng DA, Bureau of Fisheries, and then Department of Agrarian Reform into one ministry. Okay? So, yun siya. And then yung iba naman, tulad din nung dati, halimbawa, Ministry of Health, and then yung DSWD, naging MSS, Ministry of Social Services, and then ang Department of Local Government, naging Ministry of Interior and Local Government na rin. Pero yung iba, tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, na-merge siya. And then may mga offices na rin na bago, na wala sa ARM noon, no? Halimbawa, tulad nung Bangsamoro Pilgrimage Authority, wala po sa ARM yun. This time sa BAR, magkakaroon na ng ganong opisina. And then, in terms of ministry, although just recently lang din na-establish sa national na may department na, dito sa atin meron na yung tinatawag nating Ministry of Human Settlement and Development, no? Bago lang meron na rin sa national. And then, sa national, meron tayong NCIP. Dito sa atin, merong Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. So, ito yung mga bagay-bagay na merge and then merong bago, no? Bago na rin itong dahil malaki ring opisina ito na na-merge yung Ministry of Trade, Investment, and Tourism, no? Ilang ilang opisina rin yon sa national. So, kaya nga dito sa farm ngayon, very challenging talaga tayo na i-transition ito dahil this is the first time na ma-experience natin na ganito ang mangyayari, no? I-establish mo a totally different setup of government as compared to the national, and then paano mo siya gawin smoothly as possible. Okay? So hopefully ma-overcome natin yung challenge na mararamdaman natin. As to the BTA members naman, dun sa legislative side, kung titignan mo sa election scenario, meron yan siyang percentage in terms of political party membership doon sa slots o doon sa magiging member of parliament ni BTA na 80 later, no? At halimbawa, dito sa political party, meron kang 50% of 80%. Yun yung political party slot. And then meron din yung direct voting for the one who would run for candidacy, no? Yung 40% naman na district representative. So this time we will be having also our own redistricting of the entire BARM. Kung meron man tayong tinatawag na congressional district, meron din tayong parliamentary district na gagawin in the future, no? So yun yung pagkukunan ng 40% doon sa members of parliament. And then the 10%, yun naman yung reserve seat. No? Dito naman sa reserve seat, kaya natin ginawa yan dahil dito natin ipoprovide yung mga sectors na talagang kung titignan mo, very slim yung chances nila na manalo sa election in region-wide Bangsamoro election. No? Ano yung mga reserve seat natin? Kasama na dyan yung indigenous people na may dalawa, no? And then yung mga sectors tulad ng women, ulama, no, na amounting to total of 8 seats, no? 8 yan. So from 50% na meron ka doon sa 80, no? And then 40% naman para sa mga district representative, and then meron kang 10% para sa reserve seats. Okay, next slide. And then itong kasunod na slide, this is reflecting the para zoom in lang yung very basic structure ng BARM, no, from the executive. Although sabi ko nga yung wali, siya yung symbolic head natin, no? And then may specific function yan. Then from the ministries, may mga ano rin, council na gagawin, no? Kasama na diyan yung nabanggit kanina na Council of Leaders. Okay? And then dito ni-reflect namin yung BEDC kasi ito yung council na dito involve ang planning, no? Doon sa ARM before, ang meron sila tinatawag nilang RED PB, Regional Economic Planning Development Board, no? RED PB, Planning and Development Board. This time, dito sa BARM o sa BOL natin, wala nang RED PB, magiging BEDC na siya. Bangsamoro Economic and Development Council. It will be chaired also by the Chief Minister. So may mga members yan. So, i-establish pa po yung BEDC na yan. Hopefully within this year, we would be able to establish it, no? With complete membership and then functions and then secretariat. Nandun lahat. So, it would be a matter of legislating it for the Parliament to approve para ma-establish yung Bangsamoro Economic and Development Council. Okay, next slide. Okay. Itong kasunod na slide, ito yung naging topic namin for several cabinet meetings, no? This is also new. This is also wala sa ARM before na meron sa BARM sa ngayon. Yung tinatawag nating Intergovernmental Relation Body, no? Dito sa body na ito, tulad nung nakikita nyo dyan sa slides na ngayon, ito yung mga functions niya basically, no? Number 1, coordinate and resolve issues between the national government and the Bangsamoro government through regular consultations and continuing negotiations in a non-adversarial manner. Number 2, the IGR shall exhaust all means to resolve issues brought before it, and then unresolved issues shall be elevated to the President through the Chief Minister. So, ibig sabihin, itong IGR, no, it would be a platform for the national government and the Bangsamoro government to resolve issues kung may mga problemang may encounter, no? Lalong-lalo na kay BARM government, no? Kasi tulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, magkaiba nga yung setup, so meron talagang challenge, no, of the BARM government in exercising its authority under the organic law, and then nandyan si national government na counterpart natin sa national in doing things, no, lalong-lalo na doon sa aspect na si national ay may mga programa para kay BARM. Okay? So, kailangan merong platform, yung may way na paano ma-resolve yung mga issues na pwedeng mag-arrive at every level of the governance. So, dito, ito yung main body, yung nabanggit ko, IGR. And then, may mga 6 na IGR bodies din na meron tayo pertain to specific issues. No? Halimbawa, IGR on fiscal policy. No? Tinatawag nating Intergovernmental Fiscal Policy Board. Meron tayo niyan. Meron din tayong IGR doon sa nabanggit ko kanina, yung Zones of Joint Cooperation. No? Then pangatlo, meron din tayong IGR for infra development, no? Intergovernmental Infrastructure Development Board. Then pang-apat, IGR for energy. Pang-5, IGR for Sustainable Development Board, and then lastly, yung Council of Leaders natin. No? Meron tayong Council of Leaders na kung saan si Chief Minister din ang nagpe-preside as the presiding chair. So, itong IGR, very, very crucial ito. No? Hopefully, we could be able to operationalize it. No? We have already extended the concern to the national government as to how we'll be able to operationalize the IGR mechanisms of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. So, next slide. Tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, may mga IGR, may IGR din at the legislation level. Yung tinatawag nating Philippine Congress Bangsamoro Parliament Forum. So, dito naman, mag-uusap yung dalawang legislative body as to issues pertaining to legislative initiatives, no? Cooperation and coordination. Okay. Then, kanina, nabanggit ko rin yung Fiscal Policy Board na kung saan ito naman yung mag-a-address doon sa issues pertaining to revenue, no? And then, fiscal needs ni Bangsamoro, kung paano magpataas yung revenue, dahil dito kay BARM sa ngayon, meron na pong at least 4 na taxes na binigay na kay BARM na siya na mismo yung mangongolekta within its territorial jurisdiction. Okay? Hindi na po si national. So again, yun, matetest naman si BARM as to how efficient eventually the BARM will be able to collect revenues within its own territorial jurisdiction. So, nandyan yung composition ng mga bodies na ito, no? Kung mapapansin nyo, nakalatag naman dyan, Secretary of Finance as co-chair, and then kung ano yung counterpart sa atin. Sa atin naman, meron tayong Ministry of Finance, Budget and Management. No? Isang bagay rin ito na unique sa atin dahil sa national, magkahiwala yung finance at saka budget and management. Dito sa atin, one ministry na siya. No? And then, pangatlo, yung IGR for the Zones of Joint Cooperation. Tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, no? Yung dagat na extending from the 22 kilometers onward, yun yung Zones of Joint Cooperation ng national government and the Bangsamoro government. Okay? So, nandito rin yung ano nila, composition. Kung mapapansin nyo, DNR, NAMRIA, and then yung corresponding agencies naman sa kay Bangsamoro government. Then, ganun din ang IGR for infra. No? ang head nito, no, para ma-synchronize naman yung lalo na yung nationally funded program, no, to the Bangsamoro Infrastructure Development Plans. So ang head nito ay yung appropriate agency sa BARM, no, kung meron tayong DP sa national, meron naman tayong MPW sa BARM. Okay. And then panglima, yung IGR for Energy, na kung saan pag-uusapan nilang issues, no, tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, patungkol naman sa energy, no. This is also very very important and very crucial dahil pag pinag-usapan natin ng energy, hindi natin maiwasang pag-usapan ang Lake Lanao, na kung saan nandyan galing yung malaking bahagi ng supply ng kuryente dito sa Mindanao. Okay? And then lastly, yung pang-anim, yung Bangsamoro Sustainable Board, meron pa pala pang-pito, no? Pang-anim naman, ito naman yung patungkol sa development plans and policies, no? Na meron si BARM, and then paano yun ma-integrate and ma-harmonize with the national, no? Sa national ngayon, meron tayong tinatawag na Ambition 2040, and then meron silang PDP 2017 to 2022. Then lastly, yung pang-pito, yung Council of Leaders, no, na kung saan ang head nito ay yung Chief Minister, no, and then may mga members na galing sa Philippine Congress, and then galing sa BARM, and then yung mga LGUs natin and representative from various sectors. Ito naman yung mechanism natin na gagamitin para sa mga sector sa society. Kasama na yung women, community, youth, and then yung iba pang Bangsamoro communities, especially yung outside the Bangsamoro areas. No? And then, last naman, na part ng presentation ko sa ngayon is yung other relevant provisions of the BOL, no? Next slide. Like for instance, yung meron din ito sa mga previous organic law, no, na nabanggit ko kanina, yung participation ni Bangsamoro sa national government. Meaning, pwede o talagang pwede na si Bangsamoro ay maging cabinet ni Presidente o maging USEC o maging head ng offices, commissions, agency, bureau ng national. No? Nasa batas po yan. So, meron tayong participation sa bagay na yan. No? Mangilan-ilan na rin itong nangyari dahil may mga instance na rin na naging part din ng cabinet ng isang presidente ng Pilipinas ang isang Bangsamoro. No? Then, yung section 12, no, under Article 6, nandito naman yung ano natin. Kasi hindi natin pwedeng hindi sila bigyan ng pansin. At saka kailangan natin silang mabigyan ng assistance kahit na papaano dahil Bangsamoro din sila. Yun namang yung pertaining to the areas outside of the Bangsamoro. No? So, dito naman, nakalatag dito na si national government na dapat the government has to ensure yung protection ng rights ng mga Bangsamoro residing outside of the BARM. No? And then undertake programs for the rehab and rehabilitation. So, ibig sabihin, yun yung maging challenge sa atin later na how we'll be able to talk to the national government to make sure na may mga programa na gagawin si national government dun sa mga Bangsamoro communities outside of the BARM. And then ganun din si BARM, no? We have to make some assistance also, active, no, assistance dun sa mga communities outside of the BARM. And then itong article naman na ito under same article, no, 6 section, this pertains naman doon sa nationally funded programs and projects, no? Ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga current o magiging nationally funded programs ng national government will be continually funded by the national government. No? Kahalintulad nito yung for peace And then yung mga iba pang mga programa ng national na kung saan yun ay intended para sa kay BARM o para sa Bangsamoro sa BARM. Then yung kasunod nito, yung regarding naman ito doon sa supervisory power ni President over the Bangsamoro government, and then yung mga constitutionally mandated agencies like the COMELEC, the COA, and the CSC, although meron na yan sa ngayon, no? May civil service tayo, may COMELEC, but we are also allowed to establish our own office without prejudice doon sa oversight function ng mga constitutional bodies na yun. Halimbawa, pwede tayong mag-establish ng sarili nating electoral office dahil unang-una, iba yung setup natin. So magiging iba rin yung election natin coming this 2022. Ganun din sa COA, pwede tayong gumawa under the law ng auditing office and also for the civil service issue. No? Then, next slide. Kasunod nito, mapapansin nyo rin na isa rin itong bago na meron tayo sa ngayon sa BARM pertains naman doon sa issue on the energy, no? Dahil dito sa sa energy na ito, compare mo sa BARM before, si ARM before, no? Wala pong Department of Energy si ARM. So this time, magkakaroon na rin po ng ahensya for that. Kaso nilump siya sa isang ministry, no? Yung tinatawag nating Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources and Energy, no? Very basic yan dahil dito in terms of energy resources magiging 50-50 yung sharing on revenue, and then meron tayong joint management pertains to the energy resources. Okay. Then on the special projects funded by the national government operating in the arm not devolved to the bank under the BO shall continue to be implemented, no? And functions to implement programs, projects, coordination with the BTA during transition period. However, upon transitioning, the Bangsamoro government may create corresponding agencies, no? Tulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, no? And then lastly, programs and projects that are also implemented by donors shall continue but must be properly coordinated and implemented under the oversight body of the BTA. So, big sabihin, yung mga programs and projects na meron si donor partners kay ARM before will have to be continued. Basta ang importante lang, meron lang tayong proper coordination, no? Doon sa implementation ng mga programa na yun. So, ito yung mga ilan sa relevant provisions under the BOL na kung saan meron siyang support to the national structures and programs of the Philippine government. Next slide. So, doon na po nagtatapos yung aking presentation. I hope I will able to share to you some facts of the organic law, no? Vis-a-vis yung basic functions, yung structure ni BARM sa ngayon, na kung saan ito yung medyo talagang napakalaki ang challenge na dinadaanan, lalong-lalo na sa amin. So again, thank you very much for listening. Good morning to everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Engineer Ali. Can I say? As you might have observed, we are running behind schedule, no? But we've already served you snacks, and I feel like I'm the bad guy to let you know that we're skipping the coffee break, but we would like to call Engineer Dong because we want to have a photo taking session with our guests. So I'd like to invite Engineer Dong to call on our guests to join on stage for the photo op. And I'd like to invite our photographers to take pictures of these handsome gentlemen at the presidential table. So I'd like to invite Mr. Khalid Hassan, ILO Country Director, of course, the Labor Minister of BARM, Attorney Salendab, Engineer Ali, and of course our other guests. Upstairs would be better, I think. So, or a mix. Oh, that's right. So we can see the background. Maybe right here, around the stairs. May we call on our colleagues from ILO as well to join? Maybe somebody else. We are live on Facebook, the Mole Comms Group Facebook page. Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to our resource persons, both this morning and in the afternoon. I think so don't worry, guys. The country director of the ILO and the minister of the Mole are staying for the entire forum, no? So they'll be around until this afternoon, and we're going to have another photo taking ceremony this afternoon. We just wanted to make sure that they would be able to take a picture as a group, no? Because some of our guests have to leave, but rest assured that some of our resource persons will be around this afternoon for the photo op. Now I'll hand it on to my co-MC to start the next session.
Yes. Kumusta po? Okay pa? Sige. Okay, moving on with our program, I'd like to call on Ms. Irene Alcantara Abano, the Program Manager of Center for Migrant Advocacy. She will be our moderator for International Labor Standards on Domestic Work and Migration and Corresponding National Laws. So there will be presentations and she will be here to moderate the entire session. So again, may I call on Ms. Irene Alcantara Abano. Palakpakan po natin siya.
Hello, good morning. I'm Rodora Alcantara Abano from the Center for Migrant Advocacy. So it's exciting to listen to the last presentation because for me it's like a 101 course. No? But for this session, we move forward to the portion where we shall exchange information and experiences on international labor standards on domestic work and migration and corresponding national laws. We will start with the National Migrant Situationer and the key national laws on OFWs, then move to key international standards, protection for migrant workers, and then to the programs and services on anti-illegal recruitment and human trafficking. So for the first set of speakers, they will talk about the national landscape on labor migration, including key national laws on overseas Filipino workers, focused on Republic Act number 8042 or the Migrant Workers Act of 1995. May I call on Attorney Francis Ron C. de Guzman, Director 2 of the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration.
Okay, so I think we were just given about 15 to 20 minutes to discuss on our topic. Salam, good morning to all of you. I'm here on behalf of our Administrator Bernard P. Olalia, to basically share migration laws or laws on overseas, on the sending of Filipinos overseas. It's a very broad topic. There are a lot of laws related to it, but we deem it that we would be focusing on several snippets of the law relevant to issues that are current and relevant to issues that might be of interest not only here in the Bangsamoro region, but also in the national landscape. So there. So the topic that was assigned to the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration is basically the legal landscape wherein we move in sending our OFWs overseas. First, can you go to the first slide? That's the last slide. Manual na lang.
Unhide. Naka-hide yung slide. Yes. Attorney Kiko here.
Attorney Kiko dito po.
Oh, here. So it's flashing here. Now, basically we have two main laws on OFWs. That's Republic Act 8042 and Republic Act 122. Sino po dito ang nakakaalala kay floor contemplation? Anyone? If you still remember, Miss Floor Contemplation? That was March 1995 when Floor Contemplation was hanged in Singapore. So, sabi nga nila, ang mga batas daw or laws are crafted usually in response to an event, a major event that is. Prior to 1995, we only have sets of rules and enactments that govern overseas recruitment and deployment of OFWs. Although migrant work as a policy and as an industry in the Philippines has been in existence since the 1960s and the 1970s. A lot of us would know of OFWs, yung mga engineer, mga construction worker that have been going abroad noong 80s. Diba? Yung mga nagtatayo ng mga oil rig, mga buildings sa Saudi Arabia. But it was only in 1995 when, due to public clamor to institutionalize laws and policies on overseas migration, that an actual set of rules was actually enacted. And this was hugely in part, sad to say, to the demise or to the death of Ms. Floor Contemplation, who at that time, if you remember the facts surrounding the issue, was sent to Singapore, and she was recruited under false pretenses. Hindi tama yung pagkaka-recruit sa kanya. And at the same time, when she was in Singapore, she was not allegedly she was not given sufficient support and legal backing to defend her case. That's why eventually she was hanged or binitay po siya. So that's why in 1995, Republic Act 8042 or the act which institutionalized overseas employment policies was enacted. Now, a few years later, fast forward, 2010, although there was no big issue at that time, the government of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo deemed it that we need to review the policy that was enacted by the Ramos administration in 1995 as regards for contemplation. Because there are a lot of updates, in particular social media recruitment, there are a lot of issues surrounding faking the faking of documents, and there are a lot of issues pertaining to coverage such as insurance and other protection or welfare benefits that are to be given to our overseas Filipinos. So in 2010, the 1995 law on overseas migration was revisited and it was reviewed and passed into law. That's Republic Act 10022. So these two laws, these twin laws, are actually the two major laws that we follow when we talk about international labor migration. Of course, we also have the Labor Code of the Philippines, which lays down the ground for some of the labor standards that we follow. Hindi po dahil ang ating migrante o ang ating overseas Filipino ay wala sa Pilipinas, hindi siya protektado ng batas natin dito. Actually, habang papalayo siya ng papalayo ng Pilipinas, the role of government or the intention of government is that dapat papahigpit ng papahigpit yung tali o yung PC na nagko-connect sa kanya sa Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng legal and policy protection na ibinibigay sa kanya. Why? Because they're far. They're not here. Wala sila dito. And we all know that the farther you are from your country, the farther you are from your homeland, it is a bit more, it becomes more difficult for you to assert your rights in a way. So dapat, habang lumalayo ka, mas marami yung layer ng protection na naibibigay sa'yo. Okay? So, next slide. Okay. So, dito na lang po tayo sa akin. Ayan. Ako na lang po ang tignan nyo sa kayong yung nandito. Medyo tumatalon yung nandun sa kabilang PowerPoint. So, kanina pa tayo nag-uusap tungkol sa overseas Filipino worker. Kanina pa tayo nag-uusap tungkol sa migrant worker. May tamang definition at may tamang konteksto kung sino ang dapat nating tawaging OFW or migrant worker. Hindi po lahat ng nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa ay OFW o migrant worker. Kailangan nating itama yung context. Bakit? Kasi maraming nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa na hindi legally recognized na magtrabaho sa ibang bansa. And that's what we're running after. Not because we want to punish them, but we want them to undergo the legal process for them to be able to be protected. So sino po ang OFW o sino ang migrant worker? OFWs would be persons who work overseas for remunerated activities. Ibig sabihin, dapat may bayad. Hindi ka po pwedeng magtrabaho sa ibang bansa man o dito sa Pilipinas nang hindi ka binabayaran. Ano po ang tawag doon sa pagtatrabaho ng walang bayad? Walang magsasabing anak ng nanay niya. Ano daw? Slave. Ayan, di ba? Any form of forced labor any form of labor that is being entrusted upon you and you're not remunerated in any way could fall under slavery. Okay? So, we want to protect our workers against that. And it should be in a state where he or she is not a citizen. Malamang, kung dito sa Pilipinas nagtatrabaho yon, hindi mo pwedeng tawaging OFW. Or, kung yung mga marino natin, yung mga tinatawag nating mga seafarers, they're on-board vessels navigating foreign seas. Dapat nasa mga karagatan sa labas ng Pilipinas. Okay? Now, as a matter of policy, the Philippines does not deploy to all countries. Hindi lahat ng pwedeng puntahan ay dapat puntahan. Bakit? Babalikan ko po yung sinabi ko kanina. I'll go back to what I've said earlier. Because we want our migrant workers, we want overseas Filipino workers to be protected. You could only deploy, or we could only deploy to 3 types of countries. First, it should be a country that has its own set of laws that would protect laborers, including non-citizens or migrant workers. Hindi ho po pwede yung we protect laborers. Tapos may nakalagay doon na maliit, except non-citizens or migrant workers. It shouldn't be the case. Dapat all. Diba? It should apply to all. Everyone should be protected. More importantly, at sana mangyari, pangalawa at pangatlo din, the destination country or yung flagship, ibig sabihin po ng flagship, kung saan nakaregister yung barko pagdating sa mga marino natin, it should be a country that has ratified or signed multilateral treaties like yung mga ILO convention natin, protecting workers, in particular migrant workers, or countries that have bilateral agreements with the Philippines. So, yung pong top 10 country destinations where we send our overseas Filipino workers are actually countries that have bilateral agreements with the Philippines. Why? Because we have a government-to-government arrangement with them wherein we have institutionalized mechanisms, legal mechanisms at that, so that our Filipino kababayans would be protected when they arrive at those countries of destination. So ano-ano ito? Saudi, Japan, Hong Kong, mamaya ka parang kanta lang ni Gary, di ba? So yung mga top countries of destination. So most of the Middle East countries where we send our OFWs, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, yan. We also have bilateral agreements with these countries. Kung nabalitaan nyo recently, we've had an issue with Kuwait as regards the treatment of kasambahays or as regards the treatment of domestic workers. The President gave a marching order to the Department of Labor and to POEA that ayusin ninyo yung proseso ng pagpapadala sa Kuwait. Ayusin ninyo yung rule. Kung hindi, pull out lahat ng OFW sa Kuwait. Why? Because in good faith, we send our workers to them to be treated properly, to be treated humanely. So, even though there are rules and policies in place, kailangan po na-apply. That's why we constantly revisit kung ano yung nakaset up na rules and policy para sa kanila. And it should be fair, equitable, and it should not be less than how we treat workers here in our country. If it's possible to have the rules and policies above the in-country standard or above the standard that we have here in the Philippines, the better. Okay, the better. Next slide. Next. Okay. Hindi ibig sabihin pinadala na natin, may batas sa ibang bansa, it doesn't mean that they can stay there for good. Why? It is also the mandate of the government, it is also the mandate of the Philippine state to protect. Kaya nga, hindi po ba sinabi ko, hindi nababawasan ng pagiging Pilipino mo. Actually, nadadagdagan yung proteksyon sa'yo bilang Pilipinong manggagawa habang lumalayo ka sa bansa. Because when you go overseas, we look out after your welfare. We ensure na okay ka dyan. Okay? Once in a while, we contact you. Not necessarily us, on the part of POEA or OWA, but at least the sending Philippine Recruitment Agency needs to look out for your welfare. Okay? And if need be, there are rules in place that would pull out the workers from countries na hindi mabuti para sa pagtatrabaho nila. I'm not talking about Kuwait kasi hindi naman natuloy yung deployment ban sa Kuwait. I'm talking about countries such as Libya, for example. Maganda ang work conditions sa Libya. Mataas ang pasweldo. Hindi ganun kataas ang cases of abuse. But recently, nagbabago-bago tayo ng desisyon regarding deployment to Libya. Bakit? Kasi po, may unrest o merong kaguluhang nangyayari sa Libya. And because we want to protect the welfare and we want to protect our overseas Filipinos, we pull them out. Okay, we pull them out. Kasi, hindi dahil ipinadala mo, pwede silang magstay doon for good para kumita. Dahil, kahit gaano kalaki yung kinikita nila doon, ano ho ang mas importante sa pagkita ng pera? Yung buhay ng tao. Yung kapakanan at yung, diba, yung makauwi ng buo dito sa Pilipinas, yung mga kababayan natin. So, there are rules on deployment ban. Okay, there are rules on deployment ban. Sa Libya, dahil may civil unrest, nagkaroon tayo ng temporary deployment ban. Recently, nagkaroon din tayo ng deployment ban sa South Sudan, civil unrest din. In the past, nagkaroon tayo ng deployment ban to Western Africa. Bakit? Yung Ebola outbreak. So, pwedeng sakit, pwedeng civil unrest o kaguluhan, yan po yung mga nagiging dahilan kung bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng deployment ban. Or, po pwede rin naman, kasi hindi natin masyadong kasundo yung bansa na yon. Kaya, pansamantala, hindi lang natin pinuputol yung diplomatic ties natin sa kanila, pinuputol din natin yung isa sa pinakamalaki nating export o ipinapadala, which is skilled labor. So, in cooperation with the Department of Foreign Affairs, the POEA Governing Board imposes deployment bans. Now, bukod sa deployment ban, pag yung OFW nasa ibang bansa, we also have rules on pagpapauwi ng mga OFW. Admittedly po, marami tayong mga kababayan na naaabuso or namamaltrato sa ibang bansa. We endeavor to have them sent home or nagkakasakit sa ibang bansa. So, we have rules in place regarding the repatriation of OFWs. So, ano ho ba ito? Ano ba ang repatriation? Ibig sabihin, ito yung pagpapabalik sa isang OFW. Kadalasan, hindi pa tapos yung kontrata, kailangang bumalik ng Pilipinas. Sino ho ang may responsibilidad sa repatriation o sa pagpapabalik? Kung ikaw ay ipinadala ng isang Philippine Recruitment Agency, the Philippine Recruitment Agency that sent you there, together with the employer, has the primary responsibility of sending you back. Yung konsepto po ng joint and solidary liability o yung ang kasalanan ng employer, kasalanan din ng recruitment agency. Baka mamaya masyado ng maraming concept na ipapasok. So, pakonti-konti lang. Tatandaan nyo lang po pag nagpadala tayo ng OFW sa ibang bansa, yung recruitment agency ho dito mananagot sa anumang kasalanan ng foreign employer. Kasama na po dyan yung responsibilidad na pauwiin ng Pilipinas yung OFW. Okay? 48 to 72 hours lang. So, yung pong mga kababayan natin na dapat umuwi na dito na maltrato po sa Middle East, and I'm sure maraming lumalapit din kila Minister na they actually ask for help in repatriation, they only have a window of 48 to 72 hours to actually bring home the OFW. If they don't, they would be suspended. And that's the rule. Okay, that's the rule. Wag ho tayong maniwala na hindi pa namin maharap, wala pang perang pampauwi. Hindi po, responsibilidad ng recruitment agency na pauwiin yung OFW natin. Okay? Pag may kailangan ng exit visa, we allow for about a week or 2 weeks para ma-secure yung exit visa. But make sure that the OFW is in a place where they are actually protected. Alright? Next. Ito na po yung huli for now kasi para hindi tayo mag-info overload. Illegal recruitment, dahil parte naman ng discussion natin ngayong araw na to ang tungkol sa illegal recruitment. Kailan po ba nagkakaroon ng illegal recruitment? And in detail, i-discuss po ito ni Attorney Pearl mamayang hapon, yung tungkol sa illegal recruitment. So, pahahapyawan ko lang ngayon, ang illegal recruitment ho ay nagaganap kung una, walang lisensya ang nagre-recruit. Kinausap ka ng kapitbahay mo, your neighbor talk to you and your neighbor is not licensed to conduct recruitment activities. Ang sabi niya sa'yo, neighbor, friend, work ka abroad. Halika, usap tayo. Okay? That's illegal recruitment. Okay? May lisensya, pero walang authority na mag-recruit dun sa locality ninyo. Okay? We've talked extensively about this and thankfully, pinaplano na po na pag-usapan na namin with Mole, kila Engineer Dong, saka kila Minister na aayusin natin yung polisiya, aayusin yung policy na yung mga taga-ibang lugar na mga recruitment agency, hindi dapat basta nakakapasok sa mga locality nang hindi pinapayagan ng peso or hindi pinapayagan ng local government. Okay? Bakit? Kasi kung meron ka ng bad record doon, hindi ka na dapat bumalik doon sa area para makapag-recruit pa. Okay? So lumiliit ng lumiliit. So if you're not in possession of a special recruitment authority, na ang requirement, isa sa requirement is basically, okay, a certificate of no objection from the locality, hindi ka pwede mag-recruit. If you do that, that's illegal recruitment. So yung mga ganyan po, okay? Or, yung bang may trabaho ka namang maganda, sinabihan ka na, may opening kami, pasok ka sa amin, pagdating mo doon, wala naman pala. Po pwede yan, di ba? Po pwede. Enticing someone to work for you, okay, in a promise of work that does not exist could constitute illegal recruitment. Marami ho itong klase. Baka kasi iniisip lang natin ng illegal recruitment just falls under the ambit of naloko ako. Okay? Hindi ho lahat ng klase ng naloko ako ay illegal recruitment. Kasi po pwede namang naipadala ka ng license recruitment agency, hindi lang tama yung ipinasweldo sa'yo ng employer mo, hindi ho yun basta-basta illegal recruitment. Ano po? So, may mga distinctions. Basta ang importante ho, lagi namin sinasabi sa POEA, makipag-deal lamang tayo, and that's the law, makipag-deal lamang tayo with agencies that are licensed. If they're not agencies, let us not deal with them. If we have doubts, okay, the POA website is always updated kung saan lang po pwedeng pumasok ang OFW. And the list of jobs available is also posted there. So, internet age na ho ngayon. Okay? Libre hong mag-click, hindi lang ho sa Facebook. Kasi sa Facebook, marami ring nagogoyo. Okay? Marami ring nagogoyo. Marami ring nagiging biktima ng illegal recruitment. So with that, sana dun sa, I think naka 20 minutes yata ako, sana dun sa 20 minutes, napahapyawan ko kahit papano yung ilang mga legalities at ilang mga issue patungkol sa overseas employment and patungkol sa migrant work. So with that po, magandang umaga at maraming pong salamat.
Okay. Salamat po. Natawagan ko pong muli ang ating moderator for this session.
So, because of the time limitations, we will close the session first to give our sisters and brothers time to pray, and then continue the session afterwards. Thank you. Okay, and then after the prayers, we'll proceed to lunch.
So lunch na po. Inaanyayahan
Siyempre, kung magtrabaho ka na hindi ka nakakain, siyempre wala ka rin lakas. Ginaabol natin yung pasahero, makakuha tayo ng pera para makapang-almusal din tayo.
Pag hindi sapat yung kitar sa tricycle, manap na lang ako ng paraan na mabuti. Yun, mutang na lang ako. Pag makabulyong, yun, babayaran na.
Masiraan, maplatan, mapagod. Mainit ang araw, mahirap sa paa. Wala akong mapasukan. Sikad lang. Dapat kami mga sikad driver may benepisyo din.
Natry ko na rin maghanap ng trabaho dito, kaso hindi ako pwede. Ang naisipan ko, kung apply na lang kaya ako sa abroad, doon na lang kaya ako magtrabaho, maghanap buhay. Tapos yun, natry ko na lahat ng puntahan ng applyan, pero hindi talaga ako pwedeng makapasok na maghanap ng trabaho. Kaya ganyan, hindi ka pwede, tapos ganyan, ganun. Tapos inisip ko na lang na pumunta ng ibang bansa.
Para sa akin naman, ang gusto ko lang naman mangyari, yung minimum, yung magtaas yung sahod namin. Kasi, sabihin na kasi minsan kasi nga, mahal yung mga bilihin eh. Importante talaga, bigas, mga ulam. Siyempre, kung nabuboard ka pa.
Yata iya kusinganin na makambeta subang samuro nagkapya sumadagla taw sa suka pasangan na katabangan nila.
Bigyan niyo po yung mga ibang katulad ko na mga opportunity kasi actually marami talagang mga mga kabataan ngayon. Kahit na ako mga fresh graduates na talagang skillful ho talaga. Mas maganda yung sarili mo talaga yung business mo kasi yung pang-araw-araw na inahawakan mong pera, so natutugunan mo yung lahat nun. Not totally, pero medyo nabibigay mo kaysa magtatrabaho ka so magsisweldo ka ng 60 or 50 or 120 ang pinakamalaki. So hindi makaya kasi panggatas pa ng everyday. Yung anak ko kasi gumagatas ng Similac, so mahal rin.
Ang gusto ko sa gobyerno, sa pagsamuro, magkaroon din kami ng magandang kinabukasan o di kaya magandang buhay para din sa mga anak namin o sa mga kasamahan ko dito na nagabangkero. Gusto namin, ayaw namin rin ng ganitong hanap buhay. Di ba? Ang gusto namin yung maganda rin. Siyempre wala tayong magawa kay hindi tayo nakapag-aaral, hindi tayo nakatapos. Na ganito lang talaga makuha natin trabaho. So hindi tayo matanggap kahit kumbaga kahit tayo wala tayong pinag-aralan. Kaya walang taong gustong maghirap. Eh, siyempre bata pa tayo, nagabangkero na kami. Hanggang ngayon ganito pa rin. Ang gusto namin yung magandang buhay na naman, yung magandang trabaho, hindi na ganito, na okay na yun sa amin.
Kung anong dapat itulong niya sa manggagawa, di pagbigyan niyo kami, tulungan din. Kasi sa ngayon, hindi ko pa rin masyado memorize kung anong dapat gawin ng bank, yung katutulan. Pero kung may mas maganda pa, idagdag sa mga benepisyo namin dito sa loob, sa factory, mas maganda kung dagdagan pa. Pero kung anong normal nang ipalabas ng bank na makabuti, sangayon ako doon.
Sana magawa niyo pa ng magandang paraan na may matutulong niyo sa amin na sa mga maliliit na manggagawa, umangat pa, mas tumaas pa yung mga sweldo.
Anchored on these sentiments and other emotional baggages coming from the Bangsamoro people, the Ministry of Labor and Employment is fired up in promoting full, decent, competitive, and productive employment through creation of gainful, inclusive, and equal employment opportunities, development of human resources, protection of workers and promotion of their welfare, and maintenance of industrial peace.
Sana sa pagpasok ng BARM government, maraming trabaho na mapapasukan.
Siyempre, kung magtrabaho ka na hindi ka nakakain, siyempre wala ka rin lakas. Ginaabol natin yung pasahero, makakuha tayo ng pera para makapang-almusal din tayo.
Pag hindi sapat yung kitar sa tricycle, manap na lang ako ng paraan na mabuti. Yun, mutang na lang ako. Pag makabulyom, yun, babayaran na.
Masiraan, maplatan, mapagod. Mainit ang araw, mahirap sa paa. Wala akong mapasukan. Sikad lang. Dapat kami mga sikad driver may benepisyo din.
Natry ko na rin maghanap ng trabaho dito, kaso hindi ako pwede. Ang naisipan ko, kung apply na lang kaya ako sa abroad, doon na lang kaya ako magtrabaho, maghanap buhay. Tapos yun, natry ko na lahat ng puntahan, ng applyan, pero hindi talaga ako pwedeng makapasok na maghanap ng trabaho. Kaya ganyan, hindi ka pwede, tapos ganyan, ganun. Tapos inisip ko na lang na pumunta ng ibang bansa.
Para sa akin naman, ang gusto ko lang naman mangyari, yung minimum, yung magtaas yung sahod namin. Kasi, sabihin na kasi minsan kasi nga, mahal yung mga bilihin eh. Importante talaga, bigas, mga ulam. Siyempre, kung nagbo-board ka pa.
Yata si iya kusinganin na makambatan subang samuro nagkapya sumadagla tau sa suka pasangan na katabangan nira.
Bigyan niyo po yung mga ibang katulad ko na mga opportunity kasi actually marami talagang mga kabataan ngayon. Kahit na ako mga fresh graduates na talagang skillful ho talaga. Mas maganda yung sarili mo talaga yung business mo kasi yung pang-araw-araw na inahawakan mo pera, so natutugunan mo yung lahat nun. Not totally, pero medyo nabibigay mo kaysa magtatrabaho ka sa magsisweldo ka ng 60 or 50 or 120 ang pinakamalaki. So hindi makaya kasi panggatas pa ng everyday. Yung anak ko kasi gumagatas ng Similac, so mahal rin.
Ang gusto ko sa gobyerno, sa pagsamuro, magkaroon din kami ng magandang kinabukasan o di kaya magandang buhay para din sa mga anak namin o sa mga kasamahan ko dito na nagabagkero. Gusto namin, ayaw namin rin ng ganitong hanap buhay. Di ba? Ang gusto namin yung maganda rin. Siyempre wala tayong magawa kay hindi tayo nakapag-aaral, hindi tayo nakatapos. Na ganito lang talaga makuha natin trabaho. So hindi tayo matanggap kahit tayo di wala tayong pinag-aralan. Kaya walang taong gustong maghirap. Eh, siyempre bata pa tayo, nakapagkero na kami. Hanggang ngayon ganito pa rin. Ang gusto namin yung magandang buhay na naman. Kung magandang trabaho, hindi na ganito, na okay na yun sa amin.
Kung anong dapat itulong niya sa manggagawa, di pagbigyan niyo kami, tulungan din. Kasi sa ngayon, hindi ko pa rin masyado memorize kung anong dapat gawin ng BARM, ang katutulan. Pero kung may mas maganda pa, idagdag sa mga benepisyo namin dito sa loob, sa factory, mas maganda kung dagdagan pa. Pero kung anong normal nang ipalabas ng BARM na makabuti, sangayon ako doon.
Sana, magawa niyo pa ng magandang paraan na may matutulong niyo sa amin na sa mga maliliit na manggagawa, umangat pa, mas tumaas pa yung mga sweldo.
Anchored on these sentiments and other emotional baggages coming from the Bangsamoro people, the Ministry of Labor and Employment is fired up in promoting full,
decent, competitive, and productive employment through creation of gainful, inclusive, and equal employment opportunities, development of human resources, protection of workers and promotion of their welfare, and maintenance of industrial peace.
Sana sa pagpasok ng BARM government, maraming trabaho na mapapasukan.
The Philippines has a fast-growing population with over 101 million. Almost two-thirds are of working age. Findings of the Decent Work Country Diagnostics in the Philippines revealed that 24 million of the working-age population are not in the labor force. Women account for a large share at 68%. Total employment reached 38 million in 2015, and only 40% are women. Majority of those employed are in the service sector, 29% in agriculture, 16% in industries. Of great concern is vulnerable employment at 38%. Mostly self-employed and unpaid family workers with limited labor rights and social protection. Gaps remain in applying international labor standards, including enforcement as means to ensure quality employment and adequate working conditions. Evidence shows that decent work plays a key role in reducing poverty, inequality, and vulnerability, while improving lives and upholding human dignity. The Decent Work Country Program DWCP is the ILO support to promote decent work and to achieve sustainable and inclusive growth, consistent with the Sustainable Development Goals of leaving no one behind. 4 key priorities of the Decent Work Country Program. 1. Productive, remunerative, and sustainable work and employment opportunities. 2. Improved labor market governance to ensure rights at work. 3. Equitable social protection available and accessible to all. And 4. Strengthened capacity of workers and employers to effectively influence policy and participate in decision-making process. Together with government, employers, and workers, the Decent Work Country Program takes on a tripartite framework unique to the ILO and results-based approach. The Philippines has a fast-growing population with over 101 million. Almost two-thirds are of working age. Findings of the Decent Work Country Diagnostics in the Philippines revealed that 24 million of the working-age population are not in the labor force. Women account for a large share at 68%. Total employment reached 38 million in 2015, and only 40% are women. Majority of those employed are in the service sector, 29% in agriculture, 16% in industries. Of great concern is vulnerable employment at 38%. Mostly self-employed and unpaid family workers with limited labor rights and social protection. Gaps remain in applying international labor standards, including enforcement as means to ensure quality employment and adequate working conditions. Evidence shows that decent work plays a key role in reducing poverty, inequality, and vulnerability, while improving lives and upholding human dignity. The Decent Work Country Program DWCP is the ILO support to promote decent work and to achieve sustainable and inclusive growth, consistent with the Sustainable Development Goals of leaving no one behind. 4 key priorities of the Decent Work Country program. 1. Productive, remunerative, and sustainable work and employment opportunities. 2. Improved labor market governance to ensure rights at work. 3. Equitable social protection available and accessible to all. And 4. Strengthened capacity of workers and employers to effectively influence policy and participate in decision-making process. Together with government, employers, and workers, the Decent Work Country program takes on a tripartite framework unique to the ILO and results-based approach.
Wild dreams and reality, a new way from ashes of the old. For the people who don't have all the riches, it's the right to live and not simply exist. But we want the bread and we need decent work too. I'll stand here beside you to guide you across all the rubble. I'll be a partner, a universal peace, seeking social justice. 'Cause together we're strong and it won't be long. No. New age is here and we've got the
Siyempre, kung magtrabaho ka na hindi ka nakakain, siyempre wala ka rin lakas. Ginaabol natin yung pasahero, makakuha tayo ng pera para makapang-almusal din tayo.
Pag hindi sapat yung kitar sa tricycle, manap na lang ako ng paraan na mabuti. Yun, mutang na lang ako. Pag makabulyong, yun, babayaran na.
Masiraan, maplatan, mapagod. Mainit ang araw, mahirap sa paa. Wala akong mapasukan. Sikad lang. Dapat kami mga sikad driver may benepisyo din.
Natry ko na rin maghanap ng trabaho dito, kaso hindi ako pwede. Ang naisipan ko, kung mag-apply na lang kaya ako sa abroad, doon na lang kaya ako magtrabaho, maghanap buhay. Tapos yun, natry ko na lahat ng puntahan ng applyan, pero hindi talaga ako pwedeng makapasok na maghanap ng trabaho. Kaya ganyan, hindi ka pwede, tapos ganyan, ganun. Tapos inisip ko na lang na pumunta ng ibang bansa.
Para sa akin naman, ang gusto ko lang naman mangyari, yung mag-minimum, yung mag-taas yung sahod namin. Kasi, sabihin na kasi minsan kasi nga, mahal yung mga bilihin eh. Importante talaga, bigas, mga ulam. Siyempre, kung nagbo-board ka pa.
Iya kusinganin na makambeta subang samuro nagkapya sumadagla taw sa suka pasangan na katabangan nira.
Bigyan niyo po yung mga ibang katulad ko na mga opportunity kasi actually marami talagang mga mga kabataan ngayon. Or kahit na ako mga fresh graduates na talagang skillful ho talaga. Mas maganda yung sarili mo talaga yung business mo kasi yung pang-araw-araw na inawa ka ng pera, so natutugunan mo yung lahat nun. Not totally, pero medyo nabibigay mo kaysa magtatrabaho ka so magsisweldo ka ng 60 or 50 or 120 ang pinakamalaki. So hindi makaya kasi panggatas pa ng everyday. Yung anak ko kasi gumagatas ng Similac, so mahal rin.
Ang gusto ko sa gobyerno, sa pagsamuro, magkaroon din kami ng magandang kinabukasan o di kaya magandang buhay para din sa mga anak namin o sa mga kasamahan ko dito na nagabagkero. Gusto namin, ayaw namin rin ng ganitong hanap buhay. Di ba? Ang gusto namin yung maganda rin. Siyempre wala tayong magawa kay hindi tayo nakapag-aaral, hindi tayo nakatapos. Na ganito lang talaga makuha natin trabaho. So hindi tayo matanggap kahit tayo di wala tayong pinag-aralan. Ay walang taong gustong maghirap. Eh, siyempre bata pa tayo, nakapagkero na kami. Hanggang ngayon ganito pa rin. Ang gusto namin yung magandang buhay na naman, yung magandang trabaho, hindi na ganito, na okay na yun sa amin.
Kung anong dapat itulong niya sa manggagawa, di pagbigyan niyo kami, tulungan din. Kasi sa ngayon, hindi ko pa rin masyado memorize kung anong dapat gawin ng bank, yung katutulong lang. Pero kung may mas maganda pa, idagdag sa mga benepisyo namin dito sa loob, sa factory, mas maganda kung dagdagan pa. Pero kung anong normal nang ipalabas ng bulb na makabuti, sang-ayon ako doon.
Sana magawa niyo pa ng magandang paraan na may matutulong niyo sa amin na sa maliliit na manggagawa, umangat pa, mas tumaas pa yung mga sweldo.
Anchored on these sentiments and other emotional baggages coming from the Bangsamoro people, the Ministry of Labor and Employment is fired up in promoting full, decent, competitive, and productive employment through creation of gainful, inclusive and equal employment opportunities, development of human resources, protection of workers and promotion of their welfare, and maintenance of industrial peace.
Sana sa pagpasok ng BARM government, maraming trabaho na mapapasukan.
Thanks to the following sponsors: Mix Brothers, Moro Beats, Envy Production, audio and video producer since 2007, MBN, Musafir Films, Restback Session, and Kutita Restback.